The galaxy was burning. Across countless star systems, fleets clashed, worlds fell, and cities that had stood for centuries turned into ruins. The great war between the coalition of free worlds and the Cathar Dominion had reached its darkest hour. The coalition had been formed of many advanced species, some with ships that could bend light, others with weapons that could cut through the hardest metals. Yet even with all their power, they could not stop the advance of the Dominion. The Cathar Dominion was vast, disciplined, and merciless. Their fleets filled the skies like storms of steel, their war engines crushed every defense line, and their commanders seemed always one step ahead. For years they pushed forward, driving the coalition back system by system, leaving behind only ashes. On the world of GalacticPrime, a last stronghold of the coalition, the battle was reaching its end. From orbit, the Dominion warships rained fire, while on the ground armored soldiers marched through broken cities. The once proud towers of the Zarathians collapsed under bombardment, and the defenders knew they could not hold much longer. Inside the command hall, leaders of the coalition gathered in silence. Holographic displays showed wave after wave of enemy fleets cutting through their defenses. Their voices were heavy with despair. "The line has fallen," whispered General Veyron of the Thalari. "The Zereth shield cannot hold another hour." Admiral Ralner of the Valen slammed his fist against the table. "We sacrificed half our fleet to defend this system, and it was for nothing. The Dominion is unstoppable." Silence followed. No one wanted to say what they all felt, that the war was already lost. Then a calm voice spoke. It was Ambassador Lin Wei, a human representative. She looked tired, but her eyes were sharp. "We are not finished yet," she said. The others turned toward her. The Thalari general shook his head. "Ambassador, you do not understand. We have thrown everything we have at them, our most advanced ships, our strongest soldiers. What more can be done?" Lin Wei did not answer immediately. She only looked at the screen where Dominion ships advanced without pause. The Cathar believe they have already won. That belief may be their weakness, but her words did little to change the mood. For the other species, humanity was still young, a race new to the stars. Their fleets were small, their technology modest compared to the ancient powers of the galaxy. Many doubted they had anything left to offer. As the battle outside raged, the Cathar Dominion was already celebrating. Across their networks, broadcasts of victory spread. Dominion commanders raised their banners over fallen cities, and their soldiers chanted songs of conquest. To them, the coalition was broken, and resistance was nothing but a final breath before silence. On one Dominion warship, Commander Sorthak stood at the observation deck, watching the flames of GalacticPrime below. His scaled face curved into a grin. "Another world crushed," he said. "Another victory for the Dominion. Soon the coalition will kneel, and the humans will learn their place at the bottom of the chain." His officers laughed. They believed the war was already won. Back on GalacticPrime, however, the defenders still fought with stubborn courage. Human Marines, deployed alongside alien soldiers, held a shattered bridge against waves of Dominion troops. Their rifles were weaker, their armor thinner, but they did not retreat. Even when ammunition ran low, they fought with blades, with explosives, with anything they could find. Sergeant Elena Cruz shouted over the noise of battle. "Hold the line. Don't give them one more step." Her squad, battered and exhausted, obeyed. They had lost half their number, but they refused to abandon the bridge. To them, survival was not just about victory. It was about refusing to break. For the aliens fighting beside them, the sight was shocking. The Valen warrior Chiron, fighting with his energy spear, glanced at the humans and muttered, "You should have fallen hours ago. How are you still standing?" Cruz only grinned through the smoke. "We don't quit. Not until the last one of us is gone." That night, as fires lit the sky, the surviving coalition leaders prepared to evacuate. The battle was lost, but they needed to save what remained of their fleets. Yet in the quiet of the command hall, Ambassador Lin Wei spoke again. "You are ready to surrender because you think the Dominion cannot be beaten. But what if they are not as perfect as they seem? What if their arrogance blinds them? Humanity has fought wars like this before. We know what it means when an enemy celebrates too soon." Her words echoed in the chamber. Some dismissed them, but others felt a spark of hope, small but unshakable. The next day, the coalition fleet withdrew. GalacticPrime was lost, and the Dominion declared total victory. Across the galaxy, despair spread like a shadow. Worlds whispered of surrender, believing there was no chance left. But deep within hidden bases, humanity was already planning. They had watched the Dominion carefully. They had studied their movements, their pride, their patterns. Where others saw unstoppable power, humans saw cracks waiting to be struck. The Cathar Dominion celebrated. They raised their banners high. They believed the galaxy was theirs, but they did not yet understand humanity. The stars seemed quiet after the fall of Zereth Prime, but it was not the quiet of peace. It was the silence of fear. Across the galaxy, whispers filled the air. The Cathar Dominion had crushed the Coalition's strongest fortress. Their fleets had scattered the defenders. Their leaders had declared that resistance was finished. Many worlds believed those words. On planets near Dominion borders, leaders began secret talks of surrender. Others prepared to abandon their allies and hide, hoping to avoid the wrath of the Dominion. The galaxy was folding in on itself, one frightened system at a time, but not Earth. On a hidden base orbiting the moon, the human leadership gathered. Around a long table, commanders, scientists, and diplomats sat together. They were not the most advanced species. Their ships were old compared to the glowing vessels of the Thalari or the Valens. Their weapons lacked the precision of the ancient star empires. Yet there was no despair in the room. General Marcus Hale, a tall man with silver hair, stood at the head of the table. His voice was calm but firm. The Dominion believes the war is over. That is their mistake. We are not finished. Some of the alien representatives who had joined the meeting looked doubtful. Ambassador Selran of the Thalari folded his arms. General Hale, with respect, your fleets are small. Your people are young compared to us. What can you do that the Coalition's most powerful worlds could not? Hale did not raise his voice. He simply leaned forward. We can think differently. The Dominion crushed our allies because they tried to fight them in open battles. We will not make that mistake. Humanity has fought enemies stronger than us before. We know how to win wars that should be impossible. Dr. Amina Rao, one of Earth's brightest strategists, tapped a control on the table. A star map appeared, showing Dominion supply routes stretching across the galaxy. The Dominion depends on these lines, she explained. Their fleets are large, but they consume endless resources: fuel, food, weapons, repair materials. Without steady supply, their power will wither, and their arrogance makes them careless. They believe no one dares to strike their supply lines. The aliens in the room leaned closer, studying the glowing paths. Colonel David Ortiz, a battle-scarred Marine, smiled grimly. So that's where we'll strike. Not at their fleets, not at their fortresses. We'll cut their veins. They won't see it coming. The room filled with quiet murmurs. Some of the aliens still doubted. Others, however, began to feel something they had not felt in months: hope. On Earth itself, preparations began in secret. Old ships were pulled from reserves, patched and refitted. Civilian engineers volunteered to strengthen armor, improve engines, and design traps. Farmers and miners donated resources. Pilots trained day and night, often flying in simulators built from scrap parts. Humanity knew they were outnumbered, but they also knew they did not need to match the Dominion ship for ship. They only needed to strike where it mattered most. While the Dominion celebrated their victory, humans studied every movement. Small teams of scouts slipped into enemy territory. Some disguised their ships as traders. Others drifted silently in asteroid fields, watching Dominion patrols. Every detail was gathered: the timing of convoys, the strength of escorts, the routes most often used. One scout, Lieutenant Arya Chen, sent back a critical report. Convoy Sigma travels through the Vera Passage every 6 days. Minimal escort. Cargo includes fuel cells and replacement parts. Intercepting here would cripple 3 Dominion fleets. General Hale read the report and gave a single order: prepare the strike. When the first human raid was launched, it was small. 3 ships hidden inside an asteroid belt waited until the Dominion convoy entered the passage. The Dominion ships, confident and careless, did not expect an attack. At the signal, the humans moved. Missiles streaked through space, striking the convoy's lead freighter. Explosions lit the darkness as 2 more cargo ships fell. The Dominion escort scrambled, but the humans vanished into the asteroids, using the terrain to escape. For the first time in the war, a Dominion convoy did not arrive at its destination. The impact was greater than the humans had hoped. The fleets that had depended on those supplies were forced to retreat, giving Coalition survivors precious time. Word spread quickly. At first, many thought it was luck. But then came the second raid. And the third. Soon, Dominion commanders realized that someone was striking their lifelines. Commander Sorthak, who had once laughed at the humans, now slammed his claws against his command table. "Who dares?" he growled. "Who dares strike the Dominion's heart?" But the humans left no trace, no clear signature. They disappeared into the stars like ghosts. Back among the coalition refugees, whispers began. The Dominion can be hurt, some said. Someone is fighting back. When they learned it was the humans, most were surprised. Some even laughed at the thought. But the raids continued, growing bolder each time. The laughter faded, replaced by awe. On a distant world, a group of Valon soldiers who had lost faith gathered around a small holoscreen. They watched as news spread of another Dominion convoy destroyed. One soldier whispered, "It's the humans." "They are doing this," another replied, almost in disbelief. Perhaps the war is not over. For humanity, the raids were only the beginning. General Hale knew they could not win by raids alone. But each victory was a seed. It weakened the Dominion, but more importantly, it lit sparks of hope across the galaxy. In a hidden chamber on Earth, Ambassador Lin Wei spoke to the Coalition Council once more. Her words were steady, filled with quiet fire. "You doubted us. You thought we were too weak, too small. But understand this, humanity does not surrender. We have always survived against impossible odds, and now we will teach the Dominion what that means." The Council sat in silence. Some still doubted, but others began to see the truth. Humanity was not the strongest species, but they had something the Dominion could not understand: an unbreakable will. In the months that followed, humanity expanded their strategy. They created false signals to confuse the Dominion. They sent decoys to lure fleets away, only to strike where the enemy least expected. They even hacked Dominion communication lines, spreading false orders that turned entire fleets against each other. Each move was small compared to the Dominion's grand armies, yet each one cut deeper than any open battle had. The Dominion, once confident and proud, began to show cracks. Their commanders argued, their fleets hesitated, and the galaxy watched. For the first time in years, the people of distant worlds looked to the stars not with despair, but with cautious hope. They whispered of Earth, of humanity, of the ones who fought not with superior power, but with unshakable determination. The Dominion celebrated too soon, and humanity was only getting started. The Dominion had always fought with confidence. Their fleets were massive, their weapons unmatched, and their commanders certain of victory. But after months of raids, something new was spreading through their empire: uncertainty. Convoys vanished in the dark of space. Fleets waited for supplies that never arrived. Communication lines filled with false orders. Patrols returned empty-handed, unable to catch the mysterious attackers. The once perfect war machine began to stumble. Commander Sorthak sat inside his flagship, claws tapping against the steel table. Reports lay scattered before him. 10 convoys lost in 2 months. Fuel shortages reported on 3 fleets. Soldiers on frontier worlds left without proper equipment. "Explain this," Sorthak growled at his officers. "They are small attacks," one officer said carefully. "Annoyances. Nothing more." "Annoyances?" Sorthak's eyes narrowed. "These annoyances are bleeding us dry. The Dominion had enemies before, but none fought like this. Others met them in open battle and fell. But this enemy struck in shadows, disappeared, then struck again somewhere new. No pattern, no mercy. It was humanity." On Earth, in the hidden war room beneath the Andes Mountains, General Hale stood before a glowing map of the galaxy. Red lines marked Dominion supply routes. Green markers showed successful raids. "We are making progress," Dr. Rao reported. "Each destroyed convoy delays their fleets by weeks. Already, several of their offensives have slowed." Colonel Ortiz grinned. "And every time they send ships to catch us, we hit them somewhere else." "They don't know where to look," General Hale nodded. "Good, but raids alone won't win this war. We need something bigger, something that shows the galaxy the Dominion can be defeated." The room fell silent. They all knew what he meant. Small victories kept hope alive, but a true turning point required more. They needed a strike that would shake the Dominion to its core. The chance came sooner than expected. Lieutenant Arya Chen's scout ship had been shadowing a Dominion fleet when she made her discovery. Hidden in the Veil Nebula, she found a vast depot, an enormous station storing fuel, weapons, and supplies for half the Dominion fleet in that sector. The station was heavily guarded. but its destruction would cripple the Dominion's entire campaign in that region. Chen's voice trembled with urgency as she sent her report. If we take this out, their fleets in the Eastern Rim will collapse. When the message reached Earth, General Hale called an emergency council. The plan was dangerous. The depot was surrounded by defenses, enough to crush a fleet twice humanity's size. But Dr. Rao pointed out something critical. The Dominion believed no one would dare attack such a target. Their arrogance had left small weaknesses. Patrols that were lazy, sensors that had blind spots in the nebula's thick gas. Hale's eyes hardened. This is it. The turning point. If we succeed, the galaxy will know the Dominion can bleed. The mission was prepared in silence. Old freighters were disguised as Dominion ships. Small strike craft were hidden inside, waiting like wolves in sheep's clothing. Engineers built special charges designed to overload the depot's fuel cells. Pilots trained in secret, memorizing every detail of the plan. On the day of the attack, the fleet slipped into the Veil Nebula. Bright colors of gas swirled outside the viewports, hiding them from Dominion sensors. The disguised freighters moved slowly toward the depot, broadcasting false codes. Dominion patrols scanned them but found nothing unusual. Inside one freighter, Sergeant Elena Cruz checked her squad's weapons. She looked at her soldiers, tired, determined faces. This is the big one, she said quietly. If we fall, remember, our job is to make sure the galaxy knows we tried. Her soldiers nodded. None of them expected to survive, but none of them hesitated. As the freighters approached the depot, Dominion officers barely looked at them. Another supply run, nothing more. But then, as the ships neared docking bays, the hidden strike craft burst free. Engines roared, missiles streaked through the nebula, and the humans launched their attack. The Dominion garrison scrambled in shock. Enemy ships! Inside the perimeter! Explosions tore through the depot's outer defenses. Human fighters weaved between heavy turrets, using the nebula's gas to hide. Troop transports dropped squads directly onto the station's surface. Sergeant Cruz's team stormed the fuel core, planting charges as Dominion soldiers rushed to stop them. The battle was fierce. The humans were outnumbered 5-1, but they fought with relentless fury. Cruz slashed through corridors, shouting orders, her squad covering each other step by step. Dominion defenders expected the humans to retreat once cornered. Instead, the humans pushed forward, refusing to give ground. Above the station, the disguised freighters revealed their true purpose. They were not supply ships, they were bombs. At Hale's signal, the crews set self-destruct timers and abandoned ship in escape pods. Moments later, the freighters detonated, their massive explosions tearing holes in the depot's outer walls. In the chaos, Cruz's team reached the core. Dominion soldiers surrounded them, but she pressed the detonator into her palm. "We don't quit," she whispered. With her last breath, she triggered the charge. A blinding light consumed the depot. The chain reaction ripped through the entire station, igniting fuel reserves and shattering the structure from within. Flames burst into the nebula, visible across half the sector. Half the Dominion fleet in the region was left without supplies. Their offensive collapsed. When news spread, the galaxy erupted in shock. The Dominion, once thought invincible, had been humiliated. Their mighty depot destroyed, their fleets crippled, and the attackers were not some ancient power. They were humans. On distant worlds, people gathered in crowded halls listening to secret broadcasts. They heard how humans, against impossible odds, had struck the Dominion's heart. They heard of soldiers who gave their lives so others could fight another day. For the first time, they believed the Dominion could be beaten. Among the Dominion, anger boiled. Commander Sorthak raged in his war chamber, tearing apart reports. "Find them," he roared. "Find the humans and crush them." But no matter how many patrols he sent, the humans vanished into shadows, striking again where he least expected. The galaxy had changed. The Dominion still held power, still had fleets larger than any other, but their image of perfection was broken. Fear had shifted. No longer only in the hearts of the Coalition, but in the minds of the Dominion itself. And humanity, once dismissed as weak, now stood at the center of the war. General Hale addressed his people after the depot's destruction. His words were simple, but they carried across every secret channel, reaching allies and strangers alike. They thought we would break. They thought we would bow. But we are human. We endure, we fight, and we do not stop until victory is ours. From that moment, the war was no longer the same. The Dominion still had more ships, more weapons, more soldiers. But the galaxy had seen the truth. Humans had found a way to fight back. The Dominion celebrated too soon, and the turning point had come. The galaxy was changing. After the destruction of the Dominion depot, whispers of human cunning and bravery spread like wildfire. Once dismissed as inexperienced, humans were now seen as unpredictable, relentless, and capable of feats that no one had thought possible. On Earth, the command center was alive with energy. Screens showed fleets moving through the stars, coalition allies reuniting with humans to plan the next steps. Maps were marked with supply lines, patrol routes, and weak points in Dominion defenses. Every detail mattered. Every decision could tip the war. General Marcus Hale stood at the center of the room, arms folded. Around him were human commanders, alien allies, and strategists from worlds that had once doubted Earth. The mood was tense but hopeful. Humanity had proved they could strike the Dominion, but now they needed to lead. Colonel David Ortiz, reviewing ship logs, spoke first. The Dominion's fleets are in disarray. They are weak where they thought they were strongest. If we strike now, we can not only defend our allies but also push them back. Dr. Amina Rao added, "We have an opportunity to unite the coalition. They need a leader who understands how to fight smart, not just fight with numbers. Humanity can be that leader." General Hale nodded. "We will not lead with fear or force. We will lead with strategy, cooperation, and the knowledge that the Dominion can be beaten. Every ally, every fleet, every mind counts." The first demonstration of human-led coordination came quickly. Small fleets, guided by human strategists, synchronized attacks across multiple systems. One fleet drew Dominion forces into a trap near a dense asteroid field, while another fleet cut off their retreat. Missiles streaked through space in perfect timing, disabling ships and supply lines without risking entire fleets. Valen soldiers who had fought the Dominion for decades watched in amazement. "We have never seen tactics like this," one said. "They are human." Sergeant Elena Cruz led a strike team on the ground of a Dominion-occupied world. Using intelligence gathered from space, they navigated through abandoned industrial zones, avoiding patrols and security drones. Humans did not charge blindly. Every movement was calculated, yet flexible enough to adapt if the Dominion reacted. When they reached the central command station, the Dominion officers inside were shocked. Humans were not expected to appear here, much less to disable key systems with such precision. By the time reinforcements arrived, Cruz's team had disappeared, leaving chaos behind. The Dominion, frustrated, began doubting their superiority. "How can a young species fight like this?" Commander Sorthak demanded. "They are not strong. They are not fast. Yet they strike where it hurts the most. How is this possible?" Humanity's rise was not just in battle tactics. It was in coordination, in inspiring other species, and in showing that intelligence, courage, and determination mattered as much as advanced technology. On distant worlds, formerly hesitant coalition allies began following human guidance. Pilots adjusted flight patterns based on human strategies. Ground forces learned how to use terrain and traps effectively. Scientists shared knowledge on sabotage techniques. Even species that had never fully trusted humans began to fight side by side with them. Humans were not imposing their will. They were teaching others how to think creatively, how to take risks, and how to strike decisively. Ambassador Lin Wei addressed a gathering of coalition leaders on a secure channel. Her voice was calm but commanding. "We have seen what humans can do when they refuse to surrender. Now we have a chance to unite the galaxy against the Dominion. Each of you has skills, fleets, and knowledge. Together, guided by strategy and courage, we can turn the tide." Across the galaxy, a spark of hope ignited. Worlds that had considered surrender now prepared fleets, armed soldiers, and ready strategies. Humans led, but the victory was shared. The next major operation, called Operation Iron Veil, demonstrated human-led coordination on an unprecedented scale. Multiple fleets converged on a Dominion stronghold in the Aerith system, a heavily fortified star cluster. The Dominion believed their defenses were impenetrable. Asteroid shields, automated turrets, and energy barriers protected the station. Yet humans saw opportunity. General Hale's plan was simple but daring. He split the attacking forces into 3 groups. Decoys, smaller human and allied ships, pretended to attack from the front, drawing the Dominion's attention. Main strike, Hidden behind the asteroid belt, the main fleet approached from an unexpected angle. Sabotage teams, elite squads including Sergeant Cruz and her soldiers, infiltrated the station to disable key defenses. Timing was crucial. Every group had to act at precisely the right moment. Failure would mean total destruction. As the decoys appeared on Dominion sensors, the enemy celebrated. "They approach. Victory is ours," one officer shouted. Dominion ships fired, aiming at the decoys, confident of an easy kill. Meanwhile, the main strike fleet slipped through the asteroid field, hidden from sensors. Missiles were launched at energy barriers. Turrets were destroyed before they could respond. Panic rippled through the Dominion ranks. On the station itself, Cruz's squad infiltrated the command hub. Moving silently through corridors, they avoided patrols and security systems. Within minutes, they had disabled the main power grid, leaving the turrets offline and lights flickering. Dominion soldiers scrambled, but the humans were already gone, leaving confusion and chaos. The three forces converged perfectly. The station's shields fell. Fleet after fleet of Dominion ships was struck simultaneously from multiple directions. Explosions lit the star cluster as humans and their allies claimed victory. For the first time in years, the Dominion was forced to retreat. Their confidence shattered. They withdrew to regroup, leaving systems they had thought secure entirely exposed. The galaxy watched in awe. Humans had not just survived, they had led. Species that had once doubted them now called for human commanders to plan strategies. Victory was no longer a dream. It was becoming reality. On Earth, the leadership did not celebrate recklessly. General Hale gathered his team. "We have won this battle," he said. "But the war is far from over. The Dominion will strike back. They will try to recover. Our job now is to prepare the galaxy, to show that no force, no matter how large, can break the will of united allies." Even as they planned, reports came in of Dominion fleets retreating, repairing damaged ships and reorganizing patrols. Commander Sorthak, furious, vowed revenge. The humans lead. "We will crush them first. Then the galaxy will kneel once more." But humanity had changed the balance. The Dominion could no longer assume superiority. Every victory, every clever maneuver, and every act of courage had shown that brains and determination could overcome brute force. In the weeks that followed, humans continued to lead the coalition. Supply lines were protected, ambushes were planned, and intelligence networks grew. Worlds once silent in fear now communicated freely, coordinating their fleets with human guidance. Sergeant Cruz and her squad became legends, their missions celebrated across galaxies. Pilots, engineers, and strategists, all inspired by human courage, worked together to make each operation smoother, faster, and more effective. Humanity had not only survived, it had become the spark of resistance. They were the unpredictable factor that the Dominion could not control. They were the leaders the galaxy had been waiting for, and in every victory, every calculated risk, and every triumph of strategy over force, the message was clear. The Dominion had underestimated humanity. They had celebrated too soon. The stars themselves seemed to shift. Where darkness and fear had once ruled, now glimmers of hope shone brightly. Humanity stood at the center of that hope, proving that courage, intelligence, and determination could overcome even the greatest of foes. And the Dominion, once proud and unshakable, was learning a lesson it would not soon forget. Humans were not just survivors. They were leaders. The Dominion had once believed the galaxy was theirs. Their fleets had covered countless star systems. Their armies had toppled cities and crushed fortresses. They had celebrated their victories with arrogance, confident that no force could stop them. But the humans had proven them wrong. Months of careful planning, daring raids, and precise strikes had weakened the Dominion. Supply lines had been destroyed. Fleet morale had collapsed. Key outposts had fallen. Across the galaxy, resistance movements now looked to humanity as a symbol of hope. Humans were no longer a small, inexperienced species. They were leaders. On Earth, General Marcus Hale and Ambassador Lin Wei watched the galaxy's communications network. Reports from allies arrived constantly. Dominion retreats, abandoned stations, and captured fleets. They were no longer fighting defensively. Humanity and the coalition were pressing forward, turning the tide of war. "Everything is going according to plan," Dr. Amina Rao said, pointing to the star map. "If we strike at the Dominion Central Fleet now, We can force them to surrender without destroying entire systems. Colonel David Ortiz clenched his fists. It's time to end this. They've underestimated us for the last time. The final operation was called Operation Dawnfire. It was bold and risky. The Dominion's main fleet stationed in the Drellian sector was massive, larger than any force humanity had faced. But intelligence had revealed a weakness. The fleet was scattered, its patrols predictable, and its logistics vulnerable. General Hale addressed the assembled commanders. This is the last push. The Dominion has power, but their arrogance has made them slow and predictable. We will strike together, humans and all coalition allies. We will show the galaxy that no empire can crush the determined spirit of those who refuse to surrender. Every fleet member listened intently. Pilots, soldiers, and strategists from dozens of worlds understood the risk. Failure would mean annihilation. Success would mean liberation. Sergeant Elena Cruz tightened her grip on her rifle. Her squad had survived countless missions, but this was the most important yet. We either end this war today or we go down trying, she whispered to her soldiers. The battle began quietly. Small human fleets infiltrated the Dominion perimeter. Disguised as trading convoys, elite strike teams moved through asteroid fields, avoiding detection. Across the sector, coalition forces coordinated their approach. Signals were precise, movements synchronized, timing calculated to the second. When the Dominion fleet detected what they thought were minor disturbances, they laughed. These humans dare approach us? One officer scoffed. They are fools. They were wrong. From hidden positions, human ships launched a series of surprise attacks. Missiles streaked across space, disabling key Dominion capital ships. Energy shields flickered and failed. Turrets malfunctioned under coordinated cyber strikes from human engineers. Dominion pilots scrambled, trying to respond, but every move was anticipated. Every counterattack had already been neutralized. Sergeant Cruz's team landed on the largest Dominion ship. Using advanced infiltration tools, they disabled the ship's engines and sabotaged weapon systems. Dominion soldiers fought bravely, but humans had learned from every past battle. They adapted quickly, moving in patterns that confused the enemy. Within hours, the massive flagship was disabled. Meanwhile, on the ground of occupied worlds, humans and their allies liberated cities. Dominion forces, cut off from supplies and communication, surrendered or fled. Entire systems switched allegiance following humanity's leadership. Commander Sorthak watched in disbelief as his once perfect fleet fell apart. "Impossible!" he growled. "These humans, they should have been weak. They should have been crushed." He had underestimated them, as all had. Humans were not the largest, nor the strongest. But they were clever, adaptable, and fearless in ways no Dominion leader had anticipated. They thought strategically, took risks others would not, and inspired all allies to fight together as one. By the end of the week, the Dominion had no choice but to retreat. Their remaining ships withdrew to distant sectors. Supply lines were destroyed. Strategic positions lost. The once mighty empire was fractured. On a human command station above the liberated world of Theralis, General Hale addressed the assembled leaders of the coalition. His voice was calm but firm. The Dominion may still exist, but their power is broken. Today the galaxy is free because we refused to surrender. Today humanity has shown that courage, intelligence, and determination are stronger than any empire. The aftermath was one of both celebration and reflection. Across the galaxy, worlds cheered as Dominion forces retreated. Cities began rebuilding. Trade resumed. Communication networks once disrupted now hummed with life. The galaxy had survived its darkest days. Human leaders, however, did not seek conquest. General Hale, Ambassador Linway, and the Human Council focused on diplomacy, ensuring peace agreements were honored, and former Dominion-controlled worlds were integrated safely into the coalition. Humanity's leadership was not about domination, it was about protection and guidance. On Earth, families gathered to hear the news. Children listened to stories of human courage across the stars. Pilots returned home to applause. Soldiers who had fought in countless battles walked among civilians. No longer just heroes, they were symbols of what humanity could achieve. Even former enemies, those who had once doubted humans, now looked to Earth with respect. The humans had not simply fought, they had united, inspired, and led. They had turned despair into hope. In the Dominion's former capital, empty corridors echoed. Commander Sorthak, defeated and humiliated, recorded a final message for his people. The humans, they are not to be underestimated. They are something else. Their spirit. It cannot be crushed. No one would celebrate in the Dominion anymore. Their arrogance had been shattered, replaced by fear and respect. Back in the Coalition, humanity's name became legendary. They celebrated too soon, people said. They did not understand humanity. Across worlds, the story spread. Small, underestimated humans had changed the course of a galaxy-wide war. Sergeant Elena Cruz, standing atop a rebuilt command tower on Theralis, looked at the stars. She had seen allies fall, cities burn, and despair take hold. But she also had seen the impossible become possible. "We did it," she whispered to her squad. "We proved them wrong." Her soldiers nodded, eyes shining with pride. It was not just a victory in battle, it was a victory of spirit. Humanity's legacy was clear. The galaxy now understood that power was not only measured by fleets, weapons, or ancient technology. It was measured by courage, creativity, and the will to never surrender. Humans had shown that even the smallest forces, when guided by determination and intelligence, could change the fate of countless worlds. As the Coalition celebrated, Ambassador Lin Wei spoke to representatives from every species. "The Dominion taught us a lesson," she said. "They celebrated too soon, but we learned another lesson. Humanity shows us that hope, courage, and unity can overcome even the greatest of challenges. Let us carry this lesson forward, so that no one ever underestimates the strength within us, especially humanity." The stars themselves seemed brighter that night. Across the galaxy, ships and cities glowed, reflecting the new era of peace and cooperation. Humanity, once underestimated, now stood as a beacon of hope, guiding the galaxy toward a future where courage and determination were valued above all. And so, the war ended, not with conquest, not with destruction, but with the realization that humanity's spirit could never be broken. They had turned despair into hope, chaos into strategy, and weakness into unstoppable strength. The Dominion had celebrated too soon. Humanity had risen, and the galaxy would never forget it.